Right, our displacement reaction. So we're going to use this dimple tile to do it. In this row will be magnesium carbonate. In this row will be zinc carbonate. And in this row will be copper sulfate. So notice we've gone for different metal salts. We'll be adding a different metal to each column and we'll see what happens. Okay, so first off, what do they look like? Well, they come out like a white powder. They come out like calcium carbonate, which is basically talcum powder. All I've done is mix them up into a solution so that we can actually get more of a reaction going. So this row, magnesium carbonate. Okay, the next row will be zinc carbonate. Pretty much the same. I've mixed it up into, it's white powder, mixed it up into a solution. And in the final one, copper sulfate. You've probably seen copper sulfate before. As a reminder, it's a blue liquid. So it looks like that. And I'm just visually looking at them, they probably need a tiny bit more compared to the other ones because we're using a different pipette. Right, okay. In this top column, we're going to add zinc to each one. Just plain old zinc. In the next one, we're going to add calcium to each one. In the one after that, we're going to add iron. And in the one after that, we're going to add poor old Colin Copper, who I suspect is going to get beaten up and not do a lot. Right, so let's do all of the reactions for good old magnesium carbonate first. So this will be magnesium carbonate versus zinc. Have a think about the reactivity series. Which one is more reactive? Will there be a reaction? Won't there be a reaction? Let's have a look. So we're looking for the telltale signs of reaction. Gas being given off, temperature change, colour change. Some of them take a while. We can leave that one for the moment. Let's add calcium. Think about it. Will there be a change between calcium and magnesium carbonate? Move on to the next one, which is iron. So there is always sometimes a bit of a lag on some of them. Calcium is clearly reacting. Good old calcium is a more attractive prospect than magnesium. So what we're seeing there is the reaction taking place. This is iron. And then finally copper. Right. Zinc versus magnesium carbonate. No reaction. Well, why? Because zinc is lower than magnesium on the reactivity series. Calcium. Well, calcium is higher than magnesium. So calcium has replaced the magnesium and is now taking the carbonate. Iron versus magnesium carbonate. Well, no change. The carbonate is more than happy to be with magnesium, which is more reactive. And poor old Colin Copper versus magnesium carbonate. Not a chance. No way. Right. Zinc versus zinc carbonate. I shouldn't have bothered pouring it out because we don't need to do. Zinc versus calcium, let's have a quick look. have a guess, make a prediction. Right, zinc versus iron. Again, think about it, see if you can make a prediction. And then zinc versus copper. Oh look, calcium is reacting again. I wonder why. So there's no point adding zinc to zinc. Calcium versus zinc, well, calcium's higher than zinc in the reactivity series. I can tell you that there is a temperature change there as well. Calcium versus iron, well, no, because iron's lower. Copper versus zinc carbonate, well, no, because copper's much lower. Right, I think you might be able to guess what's going to happen on this row then. So we're going to add zinc first to our copper sulfate. Be careful with colour change and it sort of blocking out what the colour was before. We'll see, I'll have a look at that later. Right, copper sulfate versus calcium. I wonder what's going to happen. Iron versus copper sulfate. And now we're going to get a bit closer so we can see it. Let's have a look. So again, calcium definitely reacting. Let's have a look at zinc versus the copper sulfate. It's a bit difficult because calcium is producing so much gas we can't see. Now with the zinc one, so zinc and copper sulfate, there will be a colour change, but unfortunately I dumped a bit too much in. And given long enough, you will see a definite colour change on the outside. Calcium has definitely replaced copper in there. Iron versus copper sulfate. Again, it might not be clear on the camera, but actually there is a colour change just happening at the edge there, but you can't really see it. And obviously copper versus copper sulfate, there's no point in doing. Try and see, this is one of those ones where obviously the camera is not quite as good as your eye, but actually there will be a reaction there eventually, and there is a reaction going on at the edge there. That one's a lot more obvious. Okay.